Let's make it do what it do, baby. Let's make it do what it do. See here what we got going on. All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Ramonepreston Show. If you are joining your boy live today, please do me a quick favor. Hit that like button. Hit that share button. Tag Lolly Dolly, everybody, and let them know. Your boy, Ramonepreston, my squad, we're live right here in the beautiful Buckhead community of Atlanta. Today is Wednesday, W-I-N-S Day, Wednesday, July the 26th, 2023. We are live and we are having another discussion about holding companies and operating companies and LLCs and business vehicles that you should be using to scale whatever it is that you're doing as an entrepreneur to the next level. So please do me a favor, hit the like button. I want you to share, tag somebody, and put in the comments what city you're watching your boy from. Who are you representing? I'm representing Buckhead, Atlanta right here. Wherever you are, put in the comments what city you're watching us from. While you're doing that, I want to say thank you so much for joining the Ramonepreston Show. All of you that continue to support the show, we really appreciate you for your support, for engaging, for your participation. It means the world to me and to my team. We work very, very hard to make ourselves available every Monday through Friday right here on the Ramonepreston Show live to give you information, to give you the game, to show you creative ways, strategies on how to start, structure, and scale any business, ministry, income stream, and wealth building dream. So welcome to the Ramonepreston Show. For those of you that don't know, I am your host, Ramonepreston. And every Monday through Friday, 12 o'clock noon Eastern Standard Time, I show up here on the show to give you the game, to share information with you that you can use to start businesses, structure businesses, and scale businesses to 6-7 figures and beyond. We have a proven track record. We have proof in our own business. We have proof in the businesses of other people that we work with that what I teach and what I share is actually something that can work for you. So today we want to really answer some questions regarding the holding company. Okay, so if you are an entrepreneur and if you already have a LLC that you're running your business through, maybe you know about holding companies. I don't know. Maybe you don't know about holding companies. But I know if you are watching today's show and you have a question about holding companies, today would be the day that you want to put that question in the comments, because I would be more than happy to answer whatever the questions are that you have about holding companies. All right? So just put the question in the comment. If you have a question about holding companies, I want you to put it in the comments, and I'm going to do my due diligence. I'm going to do my best to answer your question and to give you some direction, maybe some instruction, some perspective about holding companies. So if you have a holding company, congratulations to you. If you have a holding company. Now, if you don't know how to properly use that holding company, then we want to make sure we help you. I'm going to extend an offer to you at the end of today's show. I've extended this offer for the past 2 days. I think I may have extended it for the past 2 days, Monday, Tuesday, and today is Wednesday. But what we've been extending as an offer to all of you that are part of our community is, if you have never purchased a product from us, if you've never signed up for any of our courses, if you are not a mentee in one of our coaching or consulting programs, we have been offering a free business assessment. And so we give you a word that you can text to us. And upon texting that word to us, we reach back out to you, and we just take a few minutes over the phone to provide a business assessment, to assess what you're doing in business, how you're doing it, to make sure that you have the right structure, to make sure that you are moving in the right direction. And we give you some recommendations and some direction on what things you can add to it or take away from it or modify and tweak so that you can pivot into more success for yourself and for your business. So we'll give you the word and the number at the end of today's show. But today I really wanted to answer a few questions regarding holding companies. I always get questions about the holding company. Now, of course, the most important question that I've already answered about the holding company is, what is a holding company? Well, a holding company, LLC, is no different from any other LLC in that you have to have an EIN number. You have to have articles of organization like you would with any LLC. Okay? It is a LLC. It is a legal entity that you set up. And what makes it a holding company is its primary purpose. That's what makes your holding company LLC an actual holding company. What makes it a holding company is that you are using this LLC for the primary purpose of holding other assets, holding ownership interests. Holding, that's the key word, holding. So a holding company holds ownership interests of other businesses. A holding company holds intellectual property, whether it's trademarks, copyrights. A holding company holds any types of assets, like it could even be stocks or bonds. That was one of the questions somebody asked me yesterday after the show on YouTube. Can I transfer my Robinhood stocks to my holding company? And I was like, yeah, I don't see why not. If there's anything that you own, I have clients that have created self-directed IRAs from their retirement accounts and have put those IRAs and LLCs under their holding company. And the goal is for you to have a holding company that holds all of these other assets. Okay, so we've answered the question on what a holding company is. Yesterday, I was talking to you about 2 ways of the many ways that you can use a holding company. So one common way to use a holding company is as an asset management company, meaning that your holding company is managing the assets of other companies that it owns. Or maybe your holding company has copyrights or publishing rights or trademarks or intellectual property that's being used by other companies, that you as a holding company are managing those assets to make sure that you have contractual agreements, licenses, or whatever the things are that you're doing to give people access to use that intellectual property. That's one of the ways that you can use your holding company. That's a very common way. A creative way to use your holding company is by providing consulting, coaching, education, those types of intellectual services, and running those services through your holding company. Now, some people don't think you should be doing any business inside of a holding company, but everybody's entitled to their own opinion. What I would argue about that in saying is, number one, a primary purpose for a company is not an only purpose. So I gave an example yesterday. If you have a restaurant, okay, the primary purpose of your restaurant is to do what? Is to provide food, cook food and sell food. So does that mean cooking food and selling food is the only purpose of that restaurant, or is it the primary purpose? It's the primary purpose. If it was the only purpose, then a restaurant shouldn't be selling hats and t-shirts and other paraphernalia regarding their business. But they do. But they're not a product business. They are a restaurant. So a holding company can be used, or at least I would say you can run certain services like your consulting, coaching, and education through your holding company, especially when you are on the come up. When you are on the come up. So there's some creative strategies that you can implement inside of your holding company that gives your holding company the ability to generate some revenue when you're on the come up. See, a lot of people, when they think about starting holding companies, they're looking at it from the perspective of people who may have started holding companies who were already further down the road. They already had money that they were making in other companies. They already had stability. It's a lot of stuff that they already had that you may have not had. So again, we've answered that question. What a holding company is, a few of the ways you can use a holding company. And if you have any holding company questions, I want you to put it in the comments. I see I'm Angel in the chat has a question. Hi, I was wanting to know about filing a LLC in another state such as Wyoming or Delaware, the holding company to be exact. Since I won't have a physical location in the state I live in, would I still have to have a LLC in my state? Well, first of all, I'm not a legal expert, so I don't know all the legalities and the nuances behind if you can or cannot do certain things. But what I do know to my knowledge is no matter where you have your holding company, whether it's Wyoming, Delaware, Nevada, or any of those three popular states that people start holding companies, if you're doing business in a state, especially if you're doing business and you have a presence of doing business in that state, you have to file paperwork in that state. So sometimes that would mean you have to set up a corporation in that state. And if there's a corporation from another state doing business in this state, that corporation has to either file as a foreign entity, to my knowledge, or they have to have a business in that state. So I would definitely look into speaking with an attorney before you just assume that you could do business in this state that you might live in and own an entity in another state without having a corporation in the state that you're doing business in. I would definitely look to talking to an attorney. But I tell a lot of people, I've had people that I've worked with in terms of helping them structure their holding companies, because I have some relationships with a few attorneys in Wyoming, and other states, Wyoming in particular, and I've had clients who started holding companies and then they went back to their state trying to establish a business presence in the state that they live in, and they hit roadblocks because they needed to form a corporation in that state in order to do certain things that they wanted to do, whether it was banking issues, and I know there's some online banks. So I'm sure that there are ways that you can get around it if you are having like an online business or something. But all I'm saying is I wouldn't assume that just because you have a Wyoming holding company that you can automatically do business in another state when that state is going to require you to register the business that you're doing. Okay. And again, I just had a brief business assessment with a couple guys who have a partnership and they're looking at starting their own holding companies. And this was one of the questions that came up. Should I start Wyoming LLC? And like I told them, because I've seen it play out so many times, it depends. Sometimes it's not to your advantage as a solopreneur, as a small business owner who's on the come up. It's not always to your advantage to start a Wyoming LLC. I know it sounds good in theory, and I know some of the perks and benefits that come with it, but it can be counterproductive to the success and the momentum of your small business by having a Wyoming LLC or Wyoming holding company, especially if you have a certain game plan or certain goal for your operating business or for your enterprise as a whole. So I would say it depends. You know, there are certain things that you have to take into consideration when you're starting your entity. And that's why I try my best to talk with people and to help them see things from a different perspective. Like for me, my holding company is in Georgia. It's a Georgia-based LLC. Okay? So it's not a Wyoming LLC. So I'm missing out on some things. What am I missing out on? Well, there may be certain charging order protections that Wyoming has that I don't have. There may be certain there may be certain protective advantages that a Wyoming LLC has that my Georgia LLC don't have. Like you can go to the Georgia Secretary of State, you could pull up my name, pull up my business, and my name shows up. You have that advantage of not having to disclose that in Wyoming. But that doesn't serve me a purpose. Okay, because I don't want anonymity. I'm not trying to hide my name or none of those things because my business is my name. My business is called Ramonepreston Enterprises. So sometimes you got to think about that stuff. I'm not saying to the person who asked the question, I'm just saying in general, a lot of you that are looking at other states to start your holding companies in, like Wyoming or Nevada and Delaware, you got to take into consideration other factors. That, okay, I'm on the come up, I'm a small business, I want to build a brand. See, that's another thing you need to take into consideration. Are you looking at building a brand? Are you trying to brand yourself and market yourself so you can get attention and actually have a business where people know you? If that's the case, you don't want to hide behind a corporate name. You need to be known. So now that's another thing that you need to consider. So I know people who their names, they name their business behind their names, and then they want a Wyoming LLC as if they're focusing on not being known when the name of your business is known and your name is your business because you want to build a brand. So those are a lot of things that you got to take into consideration that you're probably not thinking about when you're just looking at some of the perks. And then I've had clients who they started Wyoming LLCs, they go back to their state, they have issues setting up bank accounts, validating out-of-state business because they want to do business in the state, and now they got to set up a corporation in the state that they want to do business in when they could have just had their holding company there and simplified the process, at least until they got to a point to where they made enough money that they could always start another entity if they just wanted to do it. Or you just create a trust and you put your holding company in your trust, no matter what state your holding company is in. So you got to look at the bigger picture sometimes when you're putting your corporate infrastructure together. Because I don't always want people to just go straight to, oh, I need a Wyoming holding company. You don't necessarily need a Wyoming holding company. Okay? Because if somebody's going to sue you, they're going to sue you. And trust me, it doesn't matter if your name is not found on the Secretary of State website under business search. If a lawyer wants to find you, a lawyer is going to find you. Somehow, some way, they're going to figure out how to find you if you are a owner of an entity in the United States of America. And like I said, more important than where your holding company is, it may be even more important to get a trust so that your trust owns your holding company. That's more important than where your holding company is owned at or registered at. So that's just my opinion. I'm not like the guru on all that. So I would say if you do have some legal questions, find an attorney and make sure that an attorney vets all this stuff that people like me talk about on social media. I'm just an entrepreneur who has figured out certain strategies that work for me. I know having a holding company, using my holding company the way I have, and building my divisions and my subsidiaries and my corporate structure the way I have, I know how it has given me an advantage. I know how it has allowed me to leverage certain opportunities as an entrepreneur that I may have not had if I didn't understand the type of corporate structure that I have. Okay, so what about the office's members? Who are we allowed to use besides myself? If I'm not mistaken, if you can use someone else as a registered agent. Someone else's name could be put on as a registered agent. But as I said, if you're in Wyoming, if I'm not 100% sure about it because I don't do a whole lot of business there. You know, I've had clients that I've worked with, and when we work with them, I push their information to a law firm that we have a relationship with over there. So if I'm not mistaken, if you set up over there, someone else's name can go down, and that can be in any state. Someone else could be the registered agent. Like our company provides registered agent services to our clients. Not all the time, but sometimes. And so what that means is if we file and form your corporate paperwork with the Secretary of State, we put our company down as a registered agent, not the name of the owner. Now, the only difference is in most states, when you put the name of the owner down, that becomes public knowledge. If I'm not mistaken, when you put the name of the owner down over there, it could be hidden where nobody can find out who the name of the owner is in that particular state. So again, that's one of the perks. But I would have to get, you know, like concrete proof on what I'm saying. But I believe that Wyoming is one of those states where your name as the owner doesn't have to be known. So in other states, you can put somebody else's name as a registered agent, but I think in most states, we can still find out who the owner is because that becomes public knowledge. That may be one of the states that you don't find it. You can't find that person's information, okay? So for those of you who have been watching us this week, every day, Monday, Tuesday, and today, we've been talking about holding companies, different aspects of the holding company. Now, it's something that I mentioned yesterday about asset management and about consulting, coaching, and education that I get people asking me a lot of questions on. If I use my holding company as an asset management company, what does that look like in terms of paperwork? Well, if there is a relationship that you have with another entity as an asset management company, it doesn't mean you're managing the inside of the business. It may just means that you're managing the business as a whole. The business itself is an asset. So you're managing the asset of that business. It's no different than if you purchase a piece of real estate and you put that piece of real estate inside of an LLC. So that piece of real estate, you may have a property manager to manage the property that's in that LLC. So that means that property manager is going to make sure maintenance is getting done. When there are tenant issues, they deal with it. When rent need to be paid and picked up, they get that rent. That's a property manager. That's not an asset manager. That manager is managing the property. But then you may have an asset manager that manages the asset of the LLC, which has the property in it. So they may have a relationship with the property manager, or they may have someone who's designated to have a relationship. So the asset management part for a holding company is that it's managing the asset of the LLC or the asset of certain things that you're using to generate revenue, whether it's intellectual property, and if it's intellectual property like copyrights, publishing rights, if it's curriculum, content, whatever these things are. The asset management side of that would be that you are managing those contracts. You're making sure that the relationships are in place, the distributions are being made. So that's a very common way for holding companies to make money and to generate activity, even if it's not outside of your organization. It may be with other entities inside of your organization. So for example, if I have certain intellectual property that my holding company owns, and then I have 2 or 3 other subsidiaries, LLCs, that are doing certain business, and I want those other LLCs to use intellectual property that my holding company owns and controls. Well, I can create a relationship between my holding company and those 2 or 3 LLCs where they use that IP, but we may have some type of agreement. It may be a licensing agreement. It may just be some type of lease agreement for them to just use this equipment, this property, or this IP. So again, in order for that type of relationship to happen inside of your organization or even outside of your organization, you, as the owner of the holding company, need to learn to become an asset manager. All right, you need to learn to become an asset manager. And that ain't something you're going to just wake up one day and become. Just because you want to be an asset manager don't mean you know the details of asset management. So that means you have to learn the ins and outs of asset management. This is one of the courses that I teach inside of my Millionaire Blueprint. I have a course inside of my Millionaire Blueprint called how to, let me make sure I know the right title, because I got so many courses inside of there. But I have a course inside. I should pull it up on my screen. It's called, what is the name of the course? Bada bing, bada boom. How to increase your net worth using a holding company. That's one of the courses that I have inside of my Millionaire Blueprint. Let me see if I can pull it up for you real quick. If you've never been to my university training platform, I want you to take some time to go there. The easiest route to take is to go to Ramonepreston.com, which is where I'm going right now. If you go to Ramonepreston.com and you click on Ramonepreston.com, when the website pulls up, see if I can pull it up. There we go. Can y'all see that? Some of y'all might not be able to see it on, maybe on IG you won't be able to see it because of the lights. Might be too hard to see. Let's see here. There we go. That's my main website right there. If you go to Ramonepreston.com, if you click on training, it'll take you to our Millionaire Blueprint. This is our online educational program that we have. And inside of this program, one of the courses that we have, of course, is on how to start and structure a holding company. So for all of you that are really interested in learning everything that you can about the holding company, I promise you, and this is a strong promise, I promise you that you are not going to find as much information about a holding company on YouTube or on the internet as you will inside of this course. I think my YouTube page probably has more information about the holding company than most pages collectively together. But inside of this program here, this is the holding company course. This is just one of the courses, but we literally teach you everything you need to know about holding companies. We teach about asset management, using a holding company for asset management right here. What is asset management? What's the goal? What the benefits are? How to grow within your organization as an asset manager. These are things that you have to learn if you want to be successful as an asset manager. Why? Because I mentioned it yesterday. Most entrepreneurs who start learning about concepts like the holding company and the ones who start their holding companies, meaning that you get your paperwork filed and formed. Most entrepreneurs don't know enough about the concept to actually run their multi-business enterprise the right way. So what that means is you can have a holding company, LLC, already set up, paperwork done, bank accounts. You can have 1 or 2 or 3 or more operating companies under your holding company, paperwork done, it's put together. But then you wake up and you try to figure out, okay, so now what do I do? How do I actually make money off of this multi-entity structure? How do I leverage this? How does this give me an advantage? Well, the how-to is really tied to you learning the activities, the things that we're talking about, learning how to be an asset manager, learning how to accumulate assets, learning how to integrate them into the holding company, learning how to create agreements and paperwork, contracts between multiple entities so that you can start creating business activity. I'm telling y'all, one of the reasons why I talk so much about this concept is because this is the concept that I used when I didn't have credit, I didn't have working capital, I didn't have enough sales to do a lot of the things that I wanted to do in my business, but all I had was knowledge. And I took that knowledge, I built the infrastructure that I knew was the best infrastructure, and then I just parlayed business activities inside. And I still do the same thing, but it's given me the advantage I needed. It's given me the leverage I needed. It gave me the momentum I needed. It gave me the opportunity to have at-bats to swing, to knock certain things out of the park inside of my organization. So again, that's just one of the courses we have. And this course, again, is a course on the holding company. Inside, as I told y'all, we have a course that's specifically on how to increase your net worth using a holding company. So this is something that you have to learn. You wanna not just learn how to be an asset manager and learn what asset management is, but you want to be able to take all the assets that you might have in your personal life, in your business life, in your family, anything that you have that can be considered an asset. You want to figure out, how can I take that? This is why we teach these 3 phases of accumulation, integration, and valuation, because you want to accumulate assets. Most people have assets that they don't even know are assets. But having these assets and not connecting them or integrating them into your holding company or your business, you're just missing out on opportunities. Like, I have worked with so many different people on so many different levels. I'll give you just one of the countless examples. One example is, I had a client that we were showing them how to set up their holding company, set up their operating companies. And when we started going through the asset accumulation phase of their business, I realized that they personally owned a piece of land. I think it was a piece of land, like a lot. I mean, just think about it. So they had a piece of land in their personal name that they owned. Well, that could be an asset for their business, because all they would have to do is just transfer the ownership or the deed of that land to their company, to their holding company. And now, whatever the value was of that land, whether it was something going on that land, like a house or some type of activity that they could monetize or not, just having the land alone is worth something. So if their holding company owned that piece of land, I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but it would be easier to use that asset as collateral if it had some monetary value, which we know it had some value. I don't know if it was $10,000 or $100,000, but it had value. Or they could get creative on what things that they could actually do. Maybe they could put that land in another LLC and And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I might have told them to put the land in an LLC under the holding company as opposed to putting the land itself in the holding company, now that I'm thinking about it. But I'm just giving y'all examples that you might have vehicles, you might have equipment. I mean, just in this course, let's see here, I talk about common assets. I have 4 different modules talking about common assets that you can use to increase your net worth. But why am I talking about this inside of the course? Because I'm showing you that in order for you to be an asset manager, I'm still talking about asset management under your holding company. In order for you to use your holding company to actually make money and to give you leverage and to be useful to what you're doing in business, you need to start thinking like and learning about becoming an asset manager. Not a laborer, not an operator, but an asset manager. Most entrepreneurs are laborers. So all they do, because I've done it too, we have a business idea. That's what most of us as entrepreneurs do. We get a business idea, and the first thing that we do is we start a business. That's the only thing we know to do, right? So here is you, here is me, this is us. We the sticky man today, and we get a business idea, right? So we get this business idea, and then what we gonna do? Well, we're gonna do what everybody else does in business. We're gonna take that business idea and we're gonna start the business. So we start the business LLC. We sell the product, we provide the service, whatever it is. That's the only thing we typically do as entrepreneurs. We ain't thinking about being no asset manager. The truth is, we ain't even thinking about being an operator. What we thinking about is being laborers. We're just laborers. We out here grinding and scrapping, just trying to make a couple dollars to pay the bills. And we're laboring inside of this business, selling products and providing services. At some point, we may graduate and become operators. So what that means is we might start thinking about hiring a VA, getting some QuickBooks or some project management type software to use so that we can start tracking some stuff. So at some point we might get to the operational side, but we almost never get to the asset management side. And one of the reasons why is because of how we structured this business. We're standing on top of the operating business when what we should have did was we should have started a holding company right here, so that we always have the flexibility of being laborers inside of this LLC, being operators, but also becoming asset managers, because now just that one move alone has put me in the position to be the asset manager. All right, so hopefully I answered any questions that you might have in your mind. Some of y'all don't ask questions during the live. A lot of times y'all will wait until the show is over and come back around and ask me questions. I was actually looking for some of the questions I saw on YouTube, and I don't even know if I can find it. But if I can't, it's okay. We'll keep it moving. Let me see if I can find some of the questions I saw. Boom, 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 boom. What was some of the questions we had? Could you transfer investments account like Robinhood? And I think I answered that question. Of course, you could transfer. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to transfer your investment accounts inside of your holding company. Okay, and the thing is, if you take a look at the information that I shared right there on asset management, you will see that the goal should be for you to own one business, which would be the holding company. This is the business that you own. And the goal is for your holding company to own any other business that you do for the rest of your life. And then the other goal would be at some point, you're probably going to start a trust, and your trust is going to own the holding company, and then you'll be on top of the trust. That would be like the next big flex or pivot that you take with regard to building your legacy. So listen, I appreciate all of you for joining the show today. This week, my team and I, we are extending up to 10 free business assessments. All right, 10 free business assessments. So what that means is we give you a number to text, and when you text the number, we reach back out to you and we'll schedule a business assessment. We can actually conduct it at the time we reach back out to you if you're available, and we could take a look at what type of business structure you have or what type of business structure you want, and we can show you what exactly you need to do, what steps you need to take. Maybe you have a existing business that you want to put under a holding company. Maybe you want to start a business, but now you feel like before you start the business, you might want to start a holding company, then the business. We can take a few minutes to assess that, and we're doing it absolutely free. This is just a service that we wanted to provide this week to those of you that are in our community. And if you want to take me up on that offer, it's a free offer. All you have to do is, let me see if I have my information on here. There it is. All you have to do is text the word holding to 678-276-8253. All right. You text the word holding. That's the cue for us to know that you are responding to a video that we put out this week offering a free business assessment. And it only takes a few minutes. We just ask you a couple questions. You give us a rundown of what you're thinking about doing or what you already have going on. And we give you professional perspectives on what steps you need to take to either restructure or reorganize your corporation or your entities or your enterprise, or we can show you how to properly structure it initially so you could do it right the first time. So just text the word holding to 678-276-8253 for your free business consultation or assessment rather. So I appreciate all of you for joining the show today. I hope we answered some of your holding company questions and gave you a different perspective of what you can do. I didn't even have time to go deep into how you should be using your holding company for consulting services or coaching or educational services, even though some of you don't even think you are educators. You don't think you are coaches or consultants, but most of you who sell products and provide services in your business, you do that already. You're just not acknowledging it, and you're not getting paid for it, and you're not marketing yourself or positioning yourself as such, where you're missing a great opportunity to be very creative, to get more attention, to become more valuable to your community, and at some point to make more money. Ain't that's what you're doing business for? All right. So I look forward to hearing from you. Maybe you want to talk about how you can consult people or coach or educate people through your business. We can answer that question for you if you text holding to 678-276-8253. Thank you for joining the show. We'll be back here tomorrow, same place, same time, 12 o'clock noon Eastern. Don't meet me here, beat me here on the Ramonepreston Show.